Welcome everybody to Shaping Our Creative Impact. It's super exciting to see so many people here gathered for an event that we've been planning for, I guess over a year now. We ran a similar event some time ago, and much smaller scale. Our ambitions have grown quite a bit, and it's really good to see so many people. This event is co-hosted between Trifolium, the wonderful space where you're at this very moment, and Capture One, the imaging photography software, which I'm a part of. I'm the moderator today. My name is Andreas, and I'm the creative lead with Capture One. What I'm trying to do for Capture One is run the brand and run brand activations and make sure that our identity is being pushed in the best possible way. And one of the things that obviously comes along with this is that we try in every aspect that we go out and empower photographers. But not only empower photographers, we also want to empower the whole creative industry. We see in studio settings and everything else that has to do with photography, there's a lot of different actors involved in making great art and imagery come to life. You're seeing it right now. Cameras everywhere. We got audio. If you were in the other room where we were running a studio session, you saw a lot of people come together to showcase what we got both installed for you recently in terms of our new features and tools, but everything else, and explain how a creative workflow comes together. One thing that we'll be trying to explore today with Shaping Our Creative Impact in this panel that we're having is that we will try to understand where creativity is heading in the future. We'll try to understand what challenges are being dawned upon us right now. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk with artificial intelligence. There's higher requirements for reaching sustainability goals and many other things. And these are some of the topics that we'll be exploring together. It's going to be really exciting. And today, I'm joined by 5 very talented panelists, all within the creative field in their own right. Next to me, Katie McCrory. Katie is a researcher, an author, storyteller. She's working with IKEA, making a yearly report on life at home, finding out how we can make a better life at home. A lot of work goes into that, and that means that she gets exposed to many different things of brand activations and creative functions, and I'm sure she'll cover much more on that later. We got Kia Hartelius. Kia is the CEO and co-founder of Fern. Some of you might have already seen that we've been running a wonderful show reel on this screen behind us earlier tonight, and we'll be running it again after the panel, kind of showcasing a bit of some of the things that are coming out from Fern, this wonderful creative agency. They're doing global campaigns, and Kia's leading the charge, and very excited to hear from her and seeing what it's like to lead a creative agency in the year 2025 and soon 2026. Sebastian Lopez, our tonight resident film director. He does incredible work, again, in the show reel. You'll see later if you haven't already seen it. But he's bridging the gap here between the creative function, the commercial output, and magical realism that he's putting in a lot of his work. I think it's super innovative. It's a fresh breath of air, if you will, for many of the things I'm seeing at the moment. Copenhagen based and also a part of Fern. Mads Røkjær, sitting over here, nodding, very nice. Mads is an AI film creator. Mads is trying to breach the gap between AI filmmaking in this world where AI can both be a positive, but also in certain areas a negative word. I think Mads will come in a lot more on this topic and how he actually creates. So being a little bit deeper and a little bit more profound in terms of the art that goes out. We have Tina Beck sitting over here, our photographer and visual artist. Tina does some quite fantastic work. Again, I think 10 plus years of experience, so-and-so. But Tina does some really amazing work, most focused on still life photography, but also in other aspects of photography. And again, here we'll hear a lot more from her about the challenges that she's facing and what she's seeing to come in the future. So yeah, on behalf, again, on Capture One, Trifolium, and Fern, I am super happy to bid you welcome, and we'll have a pretty fantastic panel talk. And yeah, so good to see everyone. So, obviously, this event is called Shaping Our Creative Impact. And I'm pretty interested in hearing maybe just a few quick words, maybe a one line from each one of you on what that kind of means, like the creative impact. Katie?
Yeah.
Will you kick us off?
Yeah, first off, okay, no pressure. I think quite simply, creative impact is about making people feel things. And I would sort of leave it at that. I think that's...
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
There we go. Over to Kit.
Yeah, I think actually my reply corresponds very well with yours, because research shows that emotions move people, not data. So when it comes to impact, to me, it's all about creating stories that touch people's hearts, because then we can change their behavior.
Wonderful. Sebastian?
Yes. I think about the word necessary, because I think having impact in the first place, especially in this industry, I think being creative is very necessary. So yeah.
Love it.
I think it's probably about leaving sort of a lasting impression, to create change using creativity, like to do it responsibly and doing something that potentially outlives sort of what it was made with, really.
I kind of was thinking about what you were thinking, and I was thinking, for me at least, I think it needs to be for me. Like, I need to do something that makes me feel something, because it doesn't need to be about anyone else. So it's very kind of solo process. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Great observations. I'm feeling that in the last 10 years, definitely for me, for Capture One, but I'm assuming for most creatives, like things have changed quite a bit. Yeah, obviously we're seeing a lot of changes and a lot of challenges. I think it could maybe be nice to start to hear from you, Mads, on your work, how it has changed along the last 10 years. I mean, you've had a lot more tools now to work with, I assume, than before. Yeah, maybe you can give us a little bit of thoughts.
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, it's important for me to say that I've been working as a DOP and an editor and done commercial development for 10, 15 years before moving into AI. And I came across AI at a point in my life where there was less jobs for me to do. And I thought that even though the first version of Sora that came out a couple of years ago now wasn't very impressive, it was clear to me that it was probably only going to get better. And as I saw it, I was one of those who was potentially standing to lose something. So at the very least, should spend some time looking into it. And it turned out to be equal parts headache and fun. And so now I'm doing predominantly AI work, but I still do traditional filmcraft work with editing and shooting and that sort of stuff. And within editing, it helps me speed up so many processes. I think I gave Sebastian an example earlier where, if someone comes by your desk and slaps a 4 terabyte LSD disk from some fashion shoot or whatever that they want you to edit, and you get a last-minute curveball from clients saying, "Oh, we really like that shoot or that shot with that lady in a red dress. There was a smile, and I think there was a lens flare or whatever." Like normally that would take hours to find that shot, but now with different AI plugins, you can just punch in red dress, smile, lens flare, and then it finds it immediately. So it just gives me more time to do what I really enjoy doing,
Nice.
which is making stuff.
Yeah. Wow, that's really, really insightful. How about any other of you guys? Like, for better or worse, has it been a good development you've seen, or not so good?
I mean, I can answer.
Yeah.
I really haven't like been a proper director for that long, so I'll answer to how like somebody in my position maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago would have probably approached things and seen that landscape as opposed to how I see it. And I think just speaking to social media and the opportunities you get through sharing your stuff through these algorithms that can really quickly push your stuff out to a lot of people. So that's what's been happening with the work I've done. Like the first commercial I ever did, like ended up being seen by like 200,000 people or something. So like for a guy like me, I think a lot of creatives get an opportunity to have their work seen very quickly by a lot of people, which obviously has positives but also negatives. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there if I had to look at it with like positive lenses, which I do because I'm really happy about the position I'm in right now. And yeah, that I think it's really positive that a lot of people get opportunities to share their work and show their work, and it kind of goes through this lens very quickly, or this filter very quickly, because people just on social media, you can say whatever you want about like algorithms and like short form content, but people watch what they want to watch usually, right? So the best work, in a sense, in terms of what people want to watch, get pushed out the most. So yeah, I think positively for somebody in my shoes.
Nice.
I was just going to build on this idea of like, because I think it's interesting, the debate about AI in particular. We're using language like, is it for good, is it for bad, like, and it starts to become quite binary. And I think when if you're a creative and you're working in the creative industry, we know there is so much grey area, and it's so there's so much complexity and sort of just beautiful muddling of stuff, and we benefit when we can use tools and determine how we want to use them. So I think one of the things that I can see from my perspective as someone who commissions a lot of creative work but is also a writer themselves, so I'm in that pool as someone who's very, I see a lot of AI generated content. Is I think we need to make sure when we talk about it as a neutral tool. Because people will say, are you for or against AI? And they, Sebastian and I were joking up in the green room that we're supposed to have a fight, right? Like we want to find the friction. Like you're for it, I'm against it. And that's just going to drive everything down to the bottom of the barrel. I think actually it's like asking me, what's my opinion on hammers? Am I like for hammers or against hammers? And I'm like, well, I don't like them if you're using them to smash shop windows open. But like, I love it if you're building your kid's treehouse. Like, that's beautiful, right? It's a tool. Let's treat it as a neutral element. And it's for us to determine whether our creativity feels nourishing and good, or whether it's just like crappy derivative dross. So I think that's where I'm seeing the debate, or where I want to see the debate go in the industry that we're in, that we can have a much more nuanced grey area discussion about whether it's like good or bad.
No, I think that's really interesting. I think the main question here is then, are you a DeWalt or a Makita hammer type of person?
I don't know.
It's for the insiders.
Okay.
No, but what I really wanted to ask is like, you're saying these things, it's not for good, for bad. And I totally agree. But what about transparency? Is that important for you in turning out creative work that has AI maybe as a base, or other things?
Yeah. So if I look at it from the perspective of being a writer, I think for me creativity does two things. It's a response to how we feel, and then the thing you create provokes an emotional response, and it's this beautiful feedback loop, right? And I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it passes as like a perfect mimic of something real. The point is, how does it make us feel, both as creator and as receiver? And at the end of the day, I truly think that only humans can do that, because machines don't feel. So it's much more about, it's not, I think, yes, transparency is one thing, but actually, like, we can sniff it out. I can sniff out the slop that is served up across various social media platforms, because it doesn't relate to me, because it's written by something that has not had a single human experience in its life. So, whether it's good or not, or whether we're transparent or not, yes, I think we owe it to we owe it to our industry to be honest about when we're using the tools that we use. But transparency is it's really about your values and what it is you sort of take with you in your back pocket when you create. And I think we have to kind of sit with that and believe that good creativity will come from a very human, empathetic place. And that we use AI, we use these tools to do that brilliantly.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And yeah, again, we're speaking to creative impact, and I think this is quite an impactful thing to say, so that's really nice. One thing I'm really interested in hearing, like jumping a little bit off the AI and tool-based topics right now, but I think from someone like you, Sebastian, who's kind of a little bit newer to the game, but at the same time, you know, you're out there doing really creative work, fantastic work.
Thank you.
In terms of like the creative freedom and the commercial demands, we hear it all the time. Budgets are shrinking, like, oh, you're not allowed to do this anymore because it'll piss somebody off or whatever it might be. Like, what's the balance? Like, how do you work within that, you know, field?
Yeah, it's really difficult. I think I try my best to put all of my creativity and all like my references and things I specifically like into my work as much as possible. But obviously, yeah, there's more commercial demand on some projects than others. But I think like the interesting thing about it mostly is that like they can't be the same thing, because like culture works in this way there, whereas the thing that these big companies that have the money want, like the people who are creating culture, which is like what people want to watch, and young people, but obviously also like the entire population will always steer away from that. So they'll always work in different directions. I think that's kind of the beauty of it also, right? So that's why when you make a commercial that, you know, a lot of people really watch, it's like it's job well done. Like all commercials can't be commercials that people actually want to watch, because that's not how it works. It works in the way that fiction is like something we want to watch, and then commercial side of things, we're kind of tricking people to watch. And that's how I work with it. Usually I'll try my best with clients to just say, okay, how can we make people think this is nothing to do with being a commercial until the last point where you kind of show the product, and then you want them to go, okay, fair enough that you ended up showing me the product. So no, to answer your question, I think they're like working like magnets, opposite magnets. Yeah. And the one thing can't be the other. So I think the idea that they should kind of overlap is, I was about to say stupid, but that's like, that's a crazy word to use, but you understand.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And Kia, I mean, again, you're leading the charge with Fern. How do you, let's say, protect like the creativity that's coming from someone like Sebastian doing a job?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that comes into like a matter of integrity also, right? Like creative integrity. And I think that, well, the impact that you might have on someone is also to do with basically changing people's behavior, right? Yeah. So it depends a lot on the specific campaign that we're working on. So let's say that you have a campaign that pushes people to do better things, making better choices for themselves, then that aligns really well with integrity, and it's easy to support all the creative visions that a creative has. Whereas if you have a project that somehow promotes, you know, something that is less good for people, right, in the other end, and it would somehow impact their behavior in a less good way, then it's more difficult to align integrity and impact, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think, yeah. So in that sense, it's all about protecting like the creative vision, but also the integrity of the company, right? Yeah. And I think so. For Fern, we use our company values as like not as like a rule book that we always have to follow 100%, but more like some guidelines that we always come back to, so that when we feel that we come out of integrity in terms of, it can be like the creative vision of the talent, but it can also be in terms of what sort of, you know, what we are trying to convey, then we come back to the values and we look at like, okay, well, what are the values and how can they somehow guide us back on track? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You want to say?
Yeah, sorry, not to be speaking all the time. Shut up in a second. But I actually have something that might be interesting to hear for people, because we worked on a very big project, and that's just to bring that point back to the whole idea of like social media and like what opportunities we have now that were not there before. And what I kind of experienced, I'm not going to name the company, but like one of the biggest restaurants in the world, and they, when we were finishing this project, so they put their trust in us in order to create this campaign, but because they also knew that some of the stuff I'd made before had done really well on social media, which was what people wanted to watch, they actually put so much, I would say, trust into that. So by the end of the project, we ended up speaking to like the main person behind this company. They were like, actually, throughout this entire process, I had no idea where this is going, and I just acted like I knew what was going on. and I think what that points to is at least there's some power given to the creator, because a big company like this, and they have all this data to go from, so if they had to say, okay, we just have to go with what works, and that is like, that gives us a lot of creative freedom to say, okay, you don't even understand what's going on right now, so actually I can do whatever, and then as long as it performs, they're kind of gonna let us do that. So that was just like,
Hey, I love that. Fake it till you make it. As long as it performs, it's perfect. I'm kind of interested for you as well, Tina. I mean, like again, here there's a commercial demand out there. There's your artistry, your creative input. Like, are you creating, in a sense, like for the meaning of the work, or is it like to get the good metrics and make the client happy?
Well, I think it depends on the project. I feel like maybe I've just been lucky, but I can't. I was thinking about, did I do a bad job? Not a bad job, but like, did I have a client that I really didn't like? Or I think maybe I attract clients that like my work, that also like I respond to very well. So it's like, yeah, there's some sort, like it's leveling out in a way that we have the same. So I think it always ends up being like something that I would do myself most of the time. There's of course also some, especially in the beginning, not so much anymore, but projects where you just, I just need to get a job, and I'm just doing whatever, and like feel like I'm leaving my identity at home. I'm just a photographer. But when I get hired to do my stuff, and it's something I think about a lot, and I'm still working on it, like just doing what I usually do. But it's very hard because, you see all these other photographers and you're like, oh, he's so much better than me, or the lighting's great on that, like how do they do that? There's so much doubt and so much like comparing always, but that's something I'm constantly working on, is like just shutting my eyes and not looking at Instagram, or like just doing, what feels like me. Because I started in art school, and I had a different background, didn't work commercially until I moved back to Copenhagen in 2018. So that's when I started like, you can make money like doing photography, because I was working somewhere where there wasn't a scene for like making commercial work with photography so much, which was good. I think for me that was great. I had my first like 10 years just like in a cocoon of, like photography is just art. I didn't know there was this whole big world. It's good because then, I don't have to clean floors anymore. I can actually do what I love, so yeah.
I like that. Branching out a bit, still doing you. That's really great.
Yeah.
If we kind of roll back a bit in terms of the topics, I think we can talk a little bit more about artificial intelligence. And circling back to you, Mads, seems like you've seen a lot of opportunity here, and not as much competition as maybe others are seeing, like getting outphased or fearing that they'll lose their job, but actually like merging it within your skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I have to say I'm not here to defend generative AI as a whole, because I can only speak on my own behalf.
Nice.
And I think when you go online and look at stuff being made, you have people who are yelling very loudly on social media that traditional production work is gonna die. I don't necessarily think that's the truth, but who can say? I mean, it's anyone's guess. I think in that sense, I will get back to the question, but in that sense that, as AI get more implemented in the way that people do production, because it comes with a lot of benefits as well, I am hoping that we'll see a renewed interest in fully man-made work, similar to when the MP3 players came out when we were in school and stuff like that. Like all of a sudden, LP and vinyl was the big thing. I know it was for me because it was the same, but it wasn't the same, but it was music and sound, but it was so much different, right? Yeah. And I think it's going to be the same with AI. And I think in terms of opportunity, what I find really interesting about it is that it gives individuals or smaller teams, smaller companies, clients, possibilities that they wouldn't have had before. And I think that's really nice that, anyone can tell their own story.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily make it a great one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how fancy the tech is, a bad story will be a bad story, or a weak idea will be a weak idea. But I think at least what speaks to me is, I'm trying to be life positive about AI because I also think it's really scary, especially looking into LLMs and stuff like that. But I think the opportunities that it brings, smaller players, is amazing. All right, all of a sudden we can go out to producenter. We can go out to companies, we can go out to production houses, and we can, rather than just taking off screenshots from Film Grab or whichever, we can actually rather quickly generate something that's in line with the director's vision or the look and feel that the director of photography wants. And I think that's really powerful because obviously if I'm telling someone I want to do a scene with a red house or whatever, I'm pretty sure that red house that you're thinking of is going to look different than mine. And I think being able to sort of get closer to what the vision is quicker is really powerful because it limits mistakes. Faster is cheaper. So at least in development, I think that's really powerful. Yeah.
No, I think that's great, and I think maybe you can touch a bit more upon this, Katie. I mean, you've been in a position of leadership for quite some time, and also especially like when all these changes are rolling out, has it been beneficial for you with your team, like developing your research, even your writing, like?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this, like the trajectory of my own sort of creative output and the fact that that's happened at the same time as a lot of this like generative AI. And I was like, is that just a coincidence? Like, is it just a stage of my life I'm at, or is there something else? And I think I almost feel kind of compelled to be a human creative in this age of like AI, not because I'm against it. I just really want to, I think we're all, we're swimming in this beautiful sea of opportunity, but because it galvanizes something in me. And it really comes back to the work I do at IKEA, which is that, we're a brand that is about people's lives at home, and that is an incredibly emotional space. Yeah. And we have this opportunity to meet people in their homes and through observation with our eyeballs actually see things they may not be able to tell us themselves. So there's so many clues that you get when you get to do home visits. And all of that, we do that 1,000 times over, in countries all over the world. And you can pull that together. And then you can use tools that are AI-based to help you synthesize and understand what that's telling you about the human condition. But the point is, then you use that insight as the kind of beating heart of the creative work we do. So I think actually what I've seen in IKEA in this time is not AI sort of displacing creativity, but actually emboldening us to use insights in a much more dynamic way. So we're talking about, AI is an enormous pool of stuff, right? And then you've got generative AI within that. But like we all use AI all the time, right? Half of us probably use it to get here, right? We use Google Maps because we know where we're going. Like all of that is like synthesizing data and insights and so on. So again, I think it's like, how do we use those insights in a really dynamic way, and how do we create meaning from them? And I think that is about an interaction between us as creatives and the tools that we have available to us to do that in the best possible way. Yeah. I think AI, Mass, you maybe mentioned this, but like when you can use AI to like just do the administrative crap so that you can get on with being like a really happy creative, like I love that, right? I don't want to spend hours like trawling through spreadsheets with numbers in them. Like if I can get something that can synthesize that for me, it gives me the provocation. And I think the thing that I try and really sort of lead by example with, both in the work I do at IKEA, but also as a writer, is it's really important for creativity that you experience the friction. Yeah. Because the friction is where the alchemy and the crucible of like great stuff happens. You need it in that point of like, I don't know what to do now, or I don't know how to take this, or I don't know where it's going. Yeah. And being in that really uncomfortable space, I think, is where like I think that's where magic happens, and we have no idea. I mean, we don't even know where ideas come from, right? Like literally at all. I do follow the Liz Gilbert theory that they're just floating around in the ether and they just like come into our brains when we're ready for them, which is a bit weird. But I think, there's so much we don't know about how the brain even works. So there's so much potential there. So I think we need that creative friction. I really try and lead by example with the teams that I'm with to really sit with. We don't know the answer. Let's find it together. Yeah. And I think that's really important. I think there are other principles I really try and lead with as well. I think decision making is a really important human skill, and it's not just great for creativity. It's also great for societies. Being able to sit with complex and challenging topics, and to be able to have a conversation and not like fight about it. Again, really important human skills. So there's a lot that creativity teaches people, and let's use the tools we have to help us get to the best parts of that and remove the administrative crap where possible. So I see really great things happening at IKEA, and I think also in the world of writing as well. There's some really beautiful stuff happening.
I love that you said the word uncomfortable, because I feel like a lot of us can recognize exactly that, where if we don't challenge ourselves in these type of situations, like we can't really push forward or create something new. But yeah, maybe Kia, for you, is it a similar thing? Is it opening doors, or is it like kind of removing your ownership of the work you're putting out?
No, I totally see it as something that opens new doors, new doorways. And I think it's important that we remember that AI is a tool. It's not something that yet at least creates creative work just all on its own, and it doesn't, pick our brains without us knowing about it. So to us, it's a tool that we can choose to use in different ways, and everything that we do at Fern, when we do films or stills or whatever we do with AI, we have really talented craftsmen or women behind it. So it's not, as you also said, Matt, is just not anyone walking in from the street and sitting down doing things. It's like it's opening new possibilities, as I see it, in how we create, how do we get to the result. So it's another tool in the toolbox, and I think it's important to see it that way, and knowing that we can't separate AI from people because it's driven by people, and still I think creativity is pushed by human emotion and by intuition and by the insights that we get, right, and our personal experiences. So we can't condense AI and say that there's AI over here and then there's human, and those two things are opposite, because we're working together and we're crafting together with AI. So that's how we see it at Fern.
Yeah, it was kind of similar to what you were saying, Mads, right? That the person is driving it. Yeah. When the person is driving it, then it changes instead of just like giving a prompt and like leaving it behind.
But because I think, again, a lot of what we see online is made by people who maybe wouldn't be, doesn't do creative work on the daily, right? So one of the also exciting and fun things about AI is that everyone can sit down, write a sentence, and they'll make a cat on a cloud and it'll look all fancy and nice. But that doesn't make it a good idea or very creative for that matter. But it can be fun. The thing is, when that goes in the ether, when that goes online, then it seems the majority of people judges AI's capabilities based on what Frank from HR did on Saturday at home, right? And I think the difference is when creative people or people with a vision or whatever sits down and then use it as a tool, as Kia said, where you start seeing sort of the potential of it. And again, I don't want to say it's as bad as it's going to get, because that's what everyone's saying all the time, but it is true, right? It's only been around for a couple of years, and it's gone incredibly fast, and it most likely won't slow down either. So it will just get better.
Yeah.
And I think, again, right now it's all about one person could do everything faster and better than the whole production team and stuff like that. But that's not necessarily the case. I think, the future belongs to when you sort of use AI as a camera, so you have a director of photography or someone who has an eye for what good looks like, who's able to curate and get what is needed for a project based on someone with talent and vision like Sebastian or whatever, and like you come together like an actual production unit. And you see it more and more also on bigger projects internationally, that you have a director who maybe has never worked with AI, but it doesn't really matter because AI is just, pencil on canvas, right? It might as well be camera or AI. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
100%. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Yeah, okay, I know this is a positive conversation about shaping the future of creative work. No, but I think if you will allow me to be a little bit negative and try to create some friction.
No. No friction.
No, I do want to say, so a thing I'm kind of wrestling with a lot individually is, what if like God doesn't exist?
Oh, you went big.
No, but like, no, but what if like I know we like to look at this as creative people like very spiritually, almost in the sense that like there has to be like a brighter future because like that's the way humans work with hope and all that. But what if I have a Greek friend, he always says convenience is a bitch, in the sense that like people just love when things are convenient and when things are easy. And you spoke a little bit before about, okay, when we get to these crossroads where we don't know what to do, maybe then AI is like good to use there. I know you also used it, and you meant like probably in a little bit of a different way. But what I see, I have a little brother. He's 14, and I kind of look to him a lot because I see obviously the future in him. And what if like and this can be said for a lot of people, but what if we just want things that are easier, and we don't like, people usually just want, but what if people just want things that are easy? What if people just want things that are cheaper, and it just keeps going that way? Because this talk just is kind of like, okay, but at some point people are gonna be like, oh fuck AI, we want the real stuff. But what if it doesn't just keep going that way? What if we just end up with shorter and shorter videos? Like, I don't see our like kids, at least, or my own, or anybody around me's attention span getting much longer. Like, I don't see why it should magically switch around. Yeah. What if it keeps going in that direction and things keeps getting shorter, things keep getting short, like to be like, you can make things even cheaper and cheaper, which makes all production houses, all production companies go away because individuals can do it. So I'm like, I'm not sure, I'm 100% sure that it's all gonna be all good. So yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's extremely interesting, right? Because I've been talking to a lot of people tonight, and we're chatting a bit about, there's a need for authenticity out there. There's a lack of authenticity in what we're seeing on a daily. And maybe that's kind of it. Like, how do we fight back, like, and challenge that like narrative there is right now, and bring back the authenticity in the work? I don't know, Kia, if you have a perspective on this.
Yeah, I think we actually see a lot more demand for authenticity already. So I don't necessarily think that is something that we need to go out and then create a need for more authenticity. I mean, that is a natural. You have a pendulum, and when it swings this way, it's gonna naturally swing back. So it's just, I think it's something that is, in that sense, gonna align, and it's about helping that pendulum to swing back and forth. And so that's what I see, at least: more authenticity, more openness, a bigger ask for diversity, and a lot more, need for better choices, basically.
Yeah. Same for you, Katie, or?
Yeah, I was just thinking, you were talking about like shortened attention spans, which I also find quite frightening, the trajectory of that. I have 2 small kids, and I just think like, literally, what is the plasticity of their brains going to be, when they're in the world and navigating social media in particular? And I was really struck. I was reading an essay by a feminist writer called Siri Husved. She's like Norwegian-American. She wrote this in like 2020, I think, one of her collections of essays. Anyway, beside the point, she talked about how she went to Paris and she went to a gallery, and there was a particular painting that she really loves, and she doesn't get to see it in the flesh. canvas that often, but it was a very meaningful painting for her. So she went and she kind of, took some time. She went there and she said, she just started looking at the canvas and observing all these sort of elements of it. And she was a bit annoyed because someone was sort of standing in her way, and then they moved out of the way. And then she was just sort of at one with this piece of art. And the next time she looked at her watch, 5 hours had passed. And the only reason she realized that was because one of the docents came over to give her a chair to sit down. She was like shaking. And I just thought, when was the last time? I mean, 5 hours I think is excessive. But when was the last time we allowed ourselves to spend that much time with a single piece of art to actually sit with our feelings? And I think that as kind of creatives is we have to build that capability and that capacity. I think that's part of the impact that we can have. That's part of the legacy. He talks about the legacy we leave behind. I think is like, how do we teach our children, our siblings, ourselves, that ability to be with art? Because I think that's where the fight back, if there is a fight, if we're at war. But I think that's where the frontier is at. It's like our willingness to sit with art and to not feel that we have to have an immediate response to it, that we can just be with it.
Yeah, I think that's about training our ability to be present, like here and now. And I think that is something that we need to, that is a really good skill to teach our kids, right? To be present, to be aware, to listen, listen deep, and listen to yourself, and be with whatever comes up right now without, I remember when I was a kid, I used to take the train a lot because I lived in the suburbs, and I would go to Copenhagen or Køge or whatever. And so I would sit in the train and I didn't have a phone, so there was nothing to entertain me, and I would just listen to other people talking, and I would sit and look out of the windows, and I know all the stations from Copenhagen to Solrød, right? Because where I grew up, and I knew what all the buildings looked like, and it was super boring. It was so boring to sit in that train, but we're never bored anymore, and we are not ever really present, are we? Because we always just pick up our phones and look at some, trash. I was about to say, you know what I mean? Not a Ferns campaign, not trash, but everything. A lot. Anyways, so I think that's a really important skill to train and to help our kids to achieve that ability to listen to each other also. And to yourself.
And just a small build on that, but through the research we do at IKEA, we explore the emotional landscape of home. And one of those emotions is accomplishment, which is this idea that, and aspiration. So there's a sort of duality there of feeling like you can get things done, but also that you aspire for yourself. We talked about hope and how do you stay hopeful, and I think creativity is a way of generating imagination, which prompts hope. But one of the ways that we could see, that I've written about in my book, is that one of the best ways to understand what aspiration is for yourself is to daydream. And we do not give ourselves the time to daydream.
Exactly.
Because the minute we have any friction of boredom, it's you get the phone out. And I think, anything is better than that. Reading a book, even if you want to distract yourself, even reading a book or listening to the radio or something is going to be better than the pop, 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 pop of social media. But daydreaming is a really important part of aspiration. And aspiration is how we really feel at home where we live. So it's so fundamental to the human condition.
Agreed.
Yeah, and shout out to the 100 people in the audience that's being present right now. That's for you, Tina. You're sitting with this art every single day. Don't you just get bored?
Of my own work?
Yeah. Something needs to happen.
No, but the thing is, right now I'm struggling with just finding time to do, because I have a small kid, and it's all of a sudden all this adult life is on top of. I'm not someone who can just go up and think anymore. So I'm struggling a lot with finding time to actually just have my own thoughts. And that's such a big process of it's a big part of it. But so I think, no, I'm not bored, but I remember my dad always saying that it's the healthiest thing in the world to be bored. And I think that is the problem when I'm bored, or not bored, but have time. That's when it comes. And it's, for me actually, a hack was because I used to study at the university, and I would go to lectures, and I would just zone out, and I would think about I should do this, and I wouldn't listen, but because someone was talking, the environment was kind of calm but communal. that was such a great place to have new ideas and art school. Yeah, in school in general, but like I love going to lectures and now I listen actually. But also I think it's such a great place to be around people, to work next to someone else. You know, when you meet up with a friend and just sit with your computer, sometimes that's so much stronger than
Yeah.
But it's a struggle, you know, it's hard to, but I don't get bored of my own work.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, here we go. The daydreaming part, original thinking. There you have it. All right, let me jump a little bit here. We've covered some nice topics so far. I'm also very interested in hearing a little bit more about what's going to happen in the future, like down the line. It can be tomorrow, but it could also be in 10 years, and what you guys are seeing. Maybe, yeah, what we're hoping for, what's the aspirations for our future work? How does it look like for you, Mads? It's a big question.
It is.
Yeah.
I think in terms of just accepting AI in creative work, I think we're still in an early adaptation time, a little bit like we had with CGI. Fast forward 5-10 years, we can't really tell anymore, and then it doesn't break the illusion, and then maybe it's okay. You know what I mean? I think AI is going to see something along those lines.
Yeah.
Actually. But I think the way that we consume stuff will change drastically within the next 5, 10, 15 years because of AI. And I think that's incredibly scary because obviously my professional life is built on doing commercial work creatively. And so, you know, I promise not to do my tinfoil hat, so I won't.
Oh, no,
I'm
you
just
can
saying,
do that.
no, I promised my girlfriend at home. No, but I do think with all these AI agents and things that's coming out, it's going to change fundamentally how we sort of go online and how we buy things and how we sort of interact with those things. And, you know, I see a lot of good things coming out of that. Maybe people will look up from the screens, go out in nature, that sort of stuff. Maybe our attention span is going to come back to us, or at least to the younger generations. I don't know. But to me, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, sure. And Sebastian, for you, hope, envisioning for the creative work, your creative work in 10 years?
Yeah. I also hope people are going to look up from the screens, which is such a weird thing to say when I post on Instagram all the time. But yeah, that's what I really hope. I hope like people are going to go watch theater more. I'm hoping that becomes like a big medium. And I'm hoping that like events like these, for example, and when people get to watch, I spoke with Jonas, who's sitting just over here. I promised him not to mention him. No, but he did an incredible film in here that you can watch in that box. And he was like, he spoke to me and said he was really afraid that people might, actually not watch it all the way through because we're used to posting things on Instagram and then, they're too long. But he like realized some of you guys have been watching it maybe just not once, but twice or thrice in there. So I think there's a possibility that all the things we're doing also with the exhibition before, with the live photography, that when people get together like this, they actually might get better at consuming stuff because you're here already. So it's like, then at least people don't want to get up from their chairs or they'll watch the film another time or something like that. So, yeah.
What are you and Fern doing to shape the future?
First, I can say what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, which is also something that we actually are working on in the company, but I'm hoping a little along what you said earlier, that with AI we can free up some of all the more boring tasks that we don't want to spend our time on, and that we can then spend our time doing things that nurture our creativity, such as going into the nature. It has a huge impact on our nervous system and our brain waves and the way that our physical body works, which is so good for nurturing our creativity. So I hope that is the direction that this is going to move into, and it's also something that we're working a lot within the company, is seeing like how can we implement like pauses, breaks to reflection, all of these different things that because I feel like we've been in a phase where we've just been being pushed to become more and more and more effective, and that's probably also gonna continue. But I think that if we are to keep up with the pace, we need those breaks, because we see so many people burning out with stress and not being able to keep up with this pace. So we need to see the human side of things also, and how we thrive as people, right? Yeah, so that's the direction that we're working in, and I really hope that the creative work that we do will be measured more on how we make people feel, and not so much only on how many people we reach.
Nice.
Yeah.
Katie, what does the research tell us?
Yeah, so we do a lot of foresights work at IKEA, and I think it's important to remember there are many futures. There is not one single future, and there are many futures because what's possible for me is going to be very different for someone else. So I think that idea of like the multiplicity of the future is really, really important and keeps us hopeful. If I look at the foresights work, some of those futures are like really scary. You can already see some big trends. And of course we can't, I mean, no one can like predict what's going to happen. Yeah. We can only see the trajectories we're on. And some of those trajectories are pretty frightening, just for civilization at large, like let alone the creative industries. I think there is we are increasingly fragmented. We're increasingly polarized. There is a huge amount of instability that we're sort of tracking towards. So what am I hopeful about? Because I think I am like a relentless optimist. I think we also see this really beautiful growth of people centering their health and well-being in all the kinds of decisions they're making about their lives, and that invariably companies are having to respond to that. So I think that will help shape the kinds of the decisions that people make about what they consume, how they want to move through the world, how they want to be. I think will be much more centered around the holistic sense of how they are. So I think that's really positive. And I think what else do I see? I mean, I think there is hope because like it's the human condition, and we're the only species that we know of, right, on the planet that like has a sense of like hope and optimism. I don't know if like seagulls and rats are optimistic about their futures.
They must.
I mean, maybe. And if you go all the way back, I mean, we are a social species, and we literally die without human connection. Like we die. So it really comes back to the big kind of motivations that keep us, wanting to thrive and grow. And we're also storytellers. You go all the way back to sitting around fires outside of our caves. We've been telling stories. So I think that human connection will cut through. I hope. Is my hope, and that we'll find our way through it when we really center the whole person in that as well.
That's really lovely. Tina, you have any major concerns for the future?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm not saying so much about the AI because I don't really use it, and I'm very scared of it, to be honest. But it's so reassuring to hear all this. I'm like, it'll be fine. But I think we just don't know, this. It's too soon, like you're saying. It's a couple of years, like, oh my God. And one thing is using it for creative things, but then there's all the other stuff that I just can't stop thinking about.
Robots.
They talk about it. Yeah, robots. They talk about it all the time on the radio. Like, it's just like, but I think time will tell. And, all we can do is just to do our own thing, be positive, be human, and talk about it, like you were saying in the beginning, Katie. Like, I think that's super important. And something that I'm doing with my own work and with the people around me, I'm creating these this collective where we do photo talks, where we meet up, because I think that's been my response to like social media and everything going so quickly. And I just feel like these little meetings, we do roundtable conversations, we're like 12 people, and it's like it's amazing every time. It's like, oh my God, these people, I don't know this one, I know this, but like stuff opens up, and every time I'm surprised by how amazing it is to talk about subjects live. And I think that's going to be the answer to like all the stuff that's going on with social media and AI. I think it's just like people coming together. Hopefully.
Nice. And going toward the future, meeting it, being as prepared as possible. I think a lot of people like look up to you guys, like very talented and very accomplished. Is there like a certain skill or something that you would recommend people to like, now's the time to get on it, to learn it, to do it before it's too late?
I would say the best thing we can do is stay curious. Yeah. I think that's the best like human skill, just to ask questions and be curious about the world. and then I think we'll be all right.
Nice. For you, Kia?
Yeah, train the ability to be present.
Yeah. Sebastian?
Yeah, I'd say meditate. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with generative AI. I think. No, because I think that the next generations of creatives are gonna be taught using these tools.
Yeah.
And so if you have this inherent fright of even sort of dipping your toes in it, you might fall behind at some point. I don't know if that's the case, but there's a potential.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you don't have to use it as the final commercial output.
Yeah.
But AI can be implemented in so many places in anyone's workflow. And
Yeah.
usually the ones who are the most afraid of it or reluctant to look into it are the ones who haven't found a place in which it fits in their workflow.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be the first to get killed when the robots fight the humans.
Oh, but I yell at ChatGPT every day, so I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, there is a generation, seems like, has been left behind here in the digital age. Is that kind of like what you're seeing? Like, if you don't jump on some of these things, it's like left behind?
No, but again, I hate to repeat what's already out there, but the thing is that I think it's going to be a long while before AI take anyone's job.
Yeah.
But someone using AI probably will, because they'll be able to develop faster, ideate faster,
Yeah.
whatever, like automate sort of A/B testing, all these different things, and we see it constantly also with all these new AI scale-ups and stuff, who's obviously doubling down on AI, but they have like very small marketing teams of 3, 4, 5 people outperforming bigger sort of companies with huge marketing teams and budgets, because they're just able to optimize and sort of increase efficiency within the company. And so whether you're a marketeer or a creative or finance person, I think you can benefit from it. You don't have to throw yourself head first. You don't have to do it all the time, but like it's definitely here to stay. Like I taught my dad to take a photo off the fridge with ChatGPT when he was unsure what to cook for dinner, and just like that little thing sparked a little bit of an interest. And so now when he's playing golf, that old guy, sometimes he'll ask ChatGPT which club to use, that sort of thing. I don't know if it works, but like I think that's
Give it a go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, Tina?
I think but it's gonna sound so boring afterwards. Reading books.
Great.
I really think I don't know. It's just like it's really great, and I think I rediscovered it after having a kid, because she has my phone at night, which sounds weird, but it's playing music for her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, can't. And then I started reading because I was like bored, and it's been amazing. Yeah. So reading books.
I second that. If you guys could leave us with like a final remark, reflecting either on this talk or in general, is there anything you'd like to share, Katie?
Oh my God.
Another big one.
Yeah. I mean, I think just this
Yeah.
like makes me feel really hopeful about the creative potential and the potential of our creative impact. I think coming together, looking each other in the eyes, having conversations and being in it together. Yeah, that's my takeaway from today and all the amazing things I've learned
Nice.
from my esteemed panelists.
Yeah, esteemed panelist. For you, Kia?
Yeah, connection, heart to heart, connection with other human beings. Yeah.
Lovely.
No.
Mads, how are you feeling?
Yes. Yeah. Don't blame AI, blame the person behind it. No, I think again, the ones using those new tools, if they have the right sets of values, I think what comes out from it can be great and have a huge impact. But if all you're looking for is rage clicks and to divide people and that sort of stuff, you could achieve that regardless of whether it's being, AI or 120 millimeter film or whatever. So I think it's the intent behind it that's gonna, and hopefully, we can get better at that sort of on a global scale, sort of get a little bit nicer to each other, that sort of thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. More kindness would be nice.
More kindness.
Okay, I have one thing.
Okay.
So somebody told me the other day that since the invention of the GPS, taxi drivers develop Alzheimer's much quicker. So don't use like ChatGPT for everything, because you're gonna stop using your brain, and then
You're gonna die.
And then you're done.
No, you're gonna. Okay, I'm not gonna make an Alzheimer's joke.
Isn't that a fitting closing remark?
Hey, be careful.
That's great. Well, that brings us to the end. Not literally, but figuratively. Thank you so much, everyone in the audience, for attending. And most of all, thank you so much to our panelists, Katie, Kia, Sebastian, Mads, and Tina. Can we get a big round of applause, please?